Hey guys, Sara here with Ancient Esoterica coming at you live for just a quick revelatory message. So, I've been really moving through a lot of deep childhood emotions and themes surrounding the mother wound, the feminine aspects within me, the sensitive feeling, not that the weak feminine is bad in that sense, but just the feminine polarity is the receiving polarity and is, weak, seen as weaker or more just submissive. That's the word I'm looking for. So just healing wounds surrounding all of that. Just when I was wounded or not treated properly, when I was in my feminine and feeling sensitive, being shamed to kind of man up, even though I'm a woman. Just all these wounds coming up, I know that it is eclipse season right now. We are approaching the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. And my mom happens to be a Virgo. And a lot of the wounds that I am healing come from 10, 15, even 20 years ago between me and her, because we have really built an amazing relationship over the past 8 years. Ever since my accident, ever since just we both sort of went through a spiritual awakening side by side, me, being injured and in the hospital. And she really stepped in and protected me and was there for me. And we've just been deeply bonded ever since. And I mean, she is my mother. We've always had a relationship. She's always been a figure in my life. But she was more of a friend at some times. I resented her. I hated her at some points, my rebellious teenage years. But she's a very strong person, the strongest female-bodied human being that I know. She's very, very masculine, very successful, and very, very just strong-willed. But she can be very aggressive, and she can hold a grudge. If you know Mama Becky, you've probably had one of those grudges thrown at you if you know her. Because she, once you cross her boundaries, you're out. She is not one of those people who gives 2, 3, 4 chances. She will forgive and she will come back around and she will maintain, connections and, offer forgiveness. But, when you hurt her, she's not gonna talk to you for a couple months, or she is going to literally ignore you in the room for a little while. It's just part of who she is. And knowing who she is at soul level, that also makes sense because of her energy centers, her soul type, her soul group of origin, and just who she is as a soul. She is very, very just order and sort of control based, having everything under control, drama free, maintaining order, no clutter, no chaos, just very balanced, things functioning, everything serving a purpose, just very productive, and all of those things. But some of those shadows that come with this energy is, being passive aggressive and being, controlling others so that drama doesn't enter the situation, being a little dominating and manipulative. And I feel we've all had our fair share with aggressive parents, strict parents, overly critical parents. Everybody, deals with this because our parents want us to do good and they want us to succeed and become, the best versions of ourselves. So many of them will bully us and will push us to try to reach that potential, or at least the potential that they see. And when this happens, when there's a lot of this pushing and kind of controlling and micromanaging of feelings, there can be a lot of wounds. And I realized that some of the wounds that I've been healing are, when I was younger and I wasn't good enough, or I felt I didn't please my mom or my dad, both parents, because they were both very critical, very aggressive and very sensitive beings, both parents. But when I wouldn't please them, or when I wouldn't do what they wanted or whatever, they would really withdraw their love from me. Like, I have not really experienced unconditional love with parents because they're very conditionally loving. Like, it's always felt that way, at least. Like, they will love me if I'm Republican or if I'm talking about what they want to talk about. And this, like I said, this hasn't really been the case the past 8 years with both of my parents, because my accident reconnected me with my father, and we've always shared a deep bond and connection with the otherworldly and the paranormal. Like, we've always believed in aliens. We've always believed in ghosts and like spirits and, all these things. So we've always connected in that deep, deep way. But when I was younger, like, we're literally talking like 15, 20 years ago, if I didn't get all A's in school, he would get very mad at me. And that was his way of encouraging me to do better, because he knew I was so smart. But I was very depressed in middle school and high school, and that's when I started getting like B's and C's. Whereas before, I got all A's every report card. And so these wounds have just been like lodged in my system from like, getting my first C in the 8th grade and how horrifying that was. Like, I still kind of feel it in my body, and that's how I know I'm still like releasing that charge. It's still coded into my cellular memory. And this is what we talk about in the spiritual communities when we talk about shadow work and healing and, DNA upgrades and shifting into gift levels of consciousness out of the shadow. Because when we're in the shadow, meaning when we're younger, when we're not really self-aware and we can, see ourselves as a victim or see life as happening to us, when we are approaching life from that sort of shadow, young and naive state of consciousness, as we're still growing, still children, evolving, and especially when we're born into predominantly shadow states of consciousness, like poverty, low income areas, hoods, ghettos, my life was kind of equal this, like, I could kind of have whatever I wanted with my dad, and we like went on these vacations and we like had all these friends, and it was like normal, very normal, got all A's in school, like had a bunch, like everything was great. But then my mom was, on food stamps and single mother, living in the hood, moving, 16 times in 9 years, just trying out all these different roommates, these sketchy people who are homeless, just that polarity was very jarring for me as a kid. And now I will say that it created such a necessary contrast, because when I was with my dad, I could have whatever I wanted, any toy, for a while, because that all ended after the crashes of 2008 and just, the market crash and just the changes of the face of the world that began starting in 2008. Just, my dad's company never really recovered, and it was kind of like a downward slope from then. But before that, for all of my childhood up until the 7th grade, which ironically was also when I moved towns and started a new school and experienced a lot of trauma there. This is a big life story share, but we're getting to a key message at the end here, I promise. Yeah, wow, how did we get here? Anyway, also in 2008 was when Pluto went into Capricorn, so this was a lot of like destined and fated challenges that humans, and myself included, were destined to go through. And so being in those shadow states of consciousness, that scarcity, but also kind of overindulgence and excessive overabundance, which was on my dad's side, because it was just excess, and excess has to crash. And I'm just now kind of realizing that, because my younger brain kind of interpreted a lot of this like, why is this happening? My dad's a good person. He was a great leader, a great businessman, a great boss, would give you the shirt off his back, did everything for his guys, rescued so many people out of poverty with his business, just did so much. And I was always like, why did all this bad shit happen to him and his company? But it's because we kind of overindulged, and we learned how to appreciate the wealth and the experiences and the opportunities in excess, going on all these trips and going on these massive shopping sprees. And that was pretty normal, and it was like kind of part of the American dream. just like being able to buy whatever you wanted and to buy Abercrombie clothes as a freaking, elementary schooler and like whatever else. But then it all ended. And when it all ended, it gave me more of an appreciation for my mom and the poverty that she grew up in and all of that. But all of these challenging childhood experiences, these are what I've been really chipping away at healing, and what I've been really having a hard time with, because they're not really present emotions and experiences, but they're being triggered by the present moment, and they're being drudged up in the present moment in interesting ways. And so today is September 19th. This is the key, 10 minutes in, here we are, key element of why I'm here talking to y'all. It wasn't to just spill like half my life's trauma, but I also do share these things to relate to you guys and to, share kind of how I got to where I am, because I am Miss Ancient Esoterica, and I've been posting, esoteric videos, or not really videos, more articles, some videos, but just posting esoteric content online for the past like 5 or 6 years. And I have had to really go back and stop posting such like knowledge-based things and to really share like the real human things, because I've been struggling with these real human things. I awakened to so much so fast in just a matter of a couple years. And it felt like a while, but awakening to the level of understanding of this reality and this realm, and just the level of knowledge and information that I had obtained was profound in such a short amount of time, because I have not been working full-time jobs. I took 1 year off from my deep studies and worked a almost full-time job. It was like halfway between part-time and full-time. And other than that, though, I have been deeply dedicated to my studies. I'm looking at my collection of books and tarot decks and all my some of my special things right here, because a lot of them are in storage right now, but I digress. And so, yeah, I awakened very fast, but have had to go back and really go back into these real human things to heal and integrate and ground, because, with all these emotional charges, all these experiences still coded into my body, into my system, into my DNA, it's been hard to come more into my body to do the work that I want to do, because all this past shit is just clogging me up. And a way that you can really kind of tell that this is going on for you, or if you have these emotions stored within you, is if you think of a memory, like think of like an embarrassing memory, right now, like a time when you stuttered and someone like laughed at you. Do you still feel the charge of that embarrassment in your body? Because if you still feel it and cringe and want to like get away from it, that means it's still coded into your system. It has not been fully felt. It's been avoided and pushed away. And it's the more we repress these things, that's what leads to illness, and that's what leads to diseases and cancers and all these things. So those things that we cringe at and those things that we still feel a charge in our body, if we come across one of those memories, like say you're ruminating, say you're just daydreaming, you're laying in bed over there, you're sitting down on the floor or whatever, and you're just thinking, and one of these memories comes up and you feel like the charge of emotion in your body, instead of pushing it away or going and like eating it away, because one of the typical things we do when we have these like charged moments, when these repressed things kind of will bubble up or they're close to the surface, we usually go and eat. And we think like, oh, I must just be hungry. Well, yes and no. Some days, especially when there's a lot of like solar energy and a lot of just like potent energy flooding the earth plane, it can be good to eat, almost full meals every couple hours, but if you're having a lot of those really charged feelings and then you're like, oh, I'm going to go reach for food, think, when was the last time you ate? Are you really hungry, or is this just an attempt to like feel something other than that feeling and to kind of like eat away that feeling, stuff it down? So, So yeah, right before I filmed this video, like I said, it's September 19th, and tomorrow is my mom's birthday. And tonight we're going to a concert to see this guy, Eric Church, who we both love. And he's a very special artist to us. I don't know any of his new music. I have not really listened to it in a few years, but I am excited to go see him. Pretty much every time I've seen him in concert has been with my mom too, which is really exciting, and it's just really special. But all day I've been working through like these deep childhood feelings of like when I was younger and she like laughed at me because my stomach hurt and didn't understand, or like, you know, just these like little things that were really real to me, and I was feeling so much resistance, and I was like, like I don't want to go. No, I do want to go to the concert, or I don't know, like just going back and forth within myself. And I was supposed to sleep over her house after, and so tomorrow's her birthday, and we were going to go early to celebrate her birthday with our family friends up in New Hampshire, which is about an hour away from where my mom lives in Saugus. Saugus, Mass, kiss my ass. So I decided, you can see my yoga mat still laid out behind me actually, because I was literally like, this all happened, and I was like, I gotta download, dropped in, go record. And so yeah, I was really just feeling this charge, and I was talking to one of my friends about it because they asked if I was nervous about going tonight, because I've also been in a bit of a healing bubble and a hermit solitude bubble, really going into a lot of these like real human feelings and just this deeply repressed stuff that has become very normalized within me. Like I kind of normalized a lot of my people-pleasing tendencies, and I normalized a lot of my selfish tendencies too, where I, you know, could not really get myself to go out of my way to be there for someone else because I have just been so overloaded with my own feelings. And this is more like one-on-one physical, like hanging out with people and doing those kinds of things. But so was feeling a lot of these things, so I decided to kind of roll out my yoga mat. I FaceTimed a friend who showed me an awesome yoga pose, and we were kind of doing some yoga stretches on FaceTime together and just talking about some themes that were coming up for us, which was really healing for me. And then I hung up with that call and just felt the emotions just bubbling up more and more and more. And I was also talking to a friend who's a deep healer in her own ways over text. And I could just feel the wounds just coming up. Like I was sharing a little bit about it, and it was so raw and it was so real. And what it really was that I felt my child, this little version of my child self, felt really betrayed and really hurt and afraid of both of my parents, including my mother. And I did not really want to do what she wanted to do because I like felt like she didn't deserve it. And this is not the present moment me, because my mother is one of my great, I don't want to say friends because she's more than a friend, she's my mother, but like we have a very close relationship and close bond, and we tell each other a lot of things. Like it's great. But I could tell there was this aspect of myself that still felt that way, that just needed to air itself out. And I realized what I was really nervous about was sleeping over her house. I did want to go to the concert with her. I knew it would be fun, but I felt bad, and I felt that she was going to withdraw love from me if I told her that I wasn't going to sleep over her house. Because that's what she'll do sometimes. If you upset her, if you don't do what she wants, she'll just like be super freaking rude to you and will just totally withdraw love. And my inner child self was very wounded by that and didn't know how to like self-source and self-sustain love within myself. So that was like a deep wound and a deep betrayal. And so when I was thinking about telling her that I didn't want to sleep over, I was like freaking out. And I was like, she's going to hate me. This concert's going to suck. She's going to be mad at me the whole time. But so I'm doing my stretches, whatever, and I felt guided to check my phone, and she had just called me. So I called back, and she was like, oh, you excited, whatever? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, are you nervous? I was like, yeah, but not for the concert. I'm nervous to sleep over. And she was like, oh, you don't have to. I actually have a hair appointment now in the morning, so we're not going to go up to New Hampshire until like 1 o'clock. And I was like, oh, that's such a relief. Like, I don't sleep out. Like, I don't sleep away from my boyfriend and my kitties. And a part of me was like kind of throwing a little bit of a hissy fit, because I was like, man, like, I don't want to leave and sleep somewhere where I'm uncomfortable on a couch just for someone who like hurt me when I was 5. And like, little inner child like throwing a hissy fit. But it was very real for me. And I, communicated this in a more neutral way, being just like, yeah, I just don't really want to sleep away from Scotty and my boyfriend and my kitties. And she was like, oh, I'm so happy you told me. You never have to do anything you don't want to do. Like, because she's done a lot of healing surrounding her, like, kind of inner bully that would like get upset when things didn't go her way. And she's way more understanding of my sensitivities, because the more she's awakened, she kind of gets it. Like, she kind of understands why I don't really go to the mall and why I don't really like do a lot of these like leisurely things we used to do. Because it's just this, the world is freaking loud as shit. But anyway, the message that I hopped on here 20 minutes later to share with you guys, if anybody's still listening, is, honesty brings quantum healing. Like, I sat down to do yoga to forgive my mom, right? To like, I was like, you know what? I'm holding on to all these stories. I am literally just going to forgive it and let it all go and just be a beacon of love for her. Celebrate her tonight. Give her her birthday present, which I handmade. And I was also nervous that she wasn't going to like it because it didn't really come out the way I wanted it to look. I'm going to try and fix it right now. But, yeah, the message is just when you are honest and when you just kind of like speak up in a neutral and, compassionate and loving way, usually it will be received well. And it's just better to just be honest instead of hiding your feelings and like tiptoeing around it and people pleasing and like making the other, because what we often do in those instances is we'll like make the other person the problem. Like, if I stuffed that down the whole night, I would have been like subtly kind of bitchy. And my mom would probably eventually be like, what? And I'd be like, I don't want to sleep over, but I feel like you're making me. When she wasn't. The story in my head and my attachment to it and my like letting the story get away with itself is what was making that a thing. Because I didn't realize plans had changed. I didn't realize I had this other option to sleep home and then go meet up with them tomorrow afternoon and then go to New Hampshire. So, yeah, the key message that I wanted to share after all this time is just be honest with your feelings, with how you feel about a situation, and be open to hearing what that person has to say. Because a lot of the time when we are honest, we like will want to control their response and we'll want to control, like, still kind of make them the bad guy. But if you can just listen and let them respond, like she said, oh, I'm so happy you told me. Like, yeah, no, you never have to do that. Like, I don't like sleeping out. Like I said, she understood. But I was nervous and convinced myself that, oh, that was loud. YouTube videos just changed. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. This was much longer than I intended, but I am grateful to share these wisdom codes with you guys about healing in real time. I know this was a lot and it was kind of a little all over the place. It was a download that just kind of dropped in. I didn't plan anything. I don't have notes. I'm just here showing up with you guys, riffing on what's real and what's present in my awakening and healing journey. And just the second I was honest, and honestly, if we even back up, honestly being honest, if we back up, I laid out my mat. I showed up. I let go. I forgave. And it wasn't, and I just literally, because even when I was going to do this, I was kind of asking myself, like, how do I know if it works? Like, how do I know if I actually forgave? And kind of the guidance was just like, well, feel it in your heart. Just feel it. Say, like, I forgive you. I bring all of my energy to the present. I send love, and I'm going to be a beacon of love. And I just stretched, and I fully let my body relax into that just kind of, like, love and that just presence and just emptiness. Like, I didn't try to think anything. I didn't try to, like, feel forgiveness or love, really. I just kind of literally laid down on the mat. I did a couple poses, some downward dog pose, some child's pose, just some kind of intuitive, like, shoulder stretches, opening the heart center. And and while I was doing that, my mom literally called. And then I called back, and we were able to address kind of what my challenge of the day was, and it was met with empathy and compassion and just understanding. And I do believe that that's when healing happens, when we are in the presence of a compassionate and an empathic witness who is understanding of what we are expressing. That is truly what I feel like brings about so much healing. So I just wanted to share that like when you're honest and can have those clearing conversations and the right moment at the right time, you can release so much and open yourself to just new energies. Like, you don't have to carry that shit around anymore. You can maintain the memory and understand what those feelings taught you, but you don't have to hold the resentment and the pain and the grief and the fear and the whatever from the past. So I think I'm going to sign off now, do a little bit more stretches, and then I got to get ready for this concert tonight. And so sending you all so much love, peace, and namaste. Forgive your people, have those conversations, be honest, guys. Much love.